So my recipe makes about 5.5 sticks, and so you actually end up not needing to make deodorant very often if you're just making it for yourself. But you know, if you like it, give a stick to your friends, and then if you have a recipe you like, then share it. So it's all going to happen very quickly once you have it all melted. So the next things you're going to need to do, you're going to, right after you add your dry ingredients, you're going to want to grab your containers out of the freezer and uncap them. Make sure if you've used them before and you're reusing a container, that you put the elevator back to the bottom so you can actually pour the dry ingredients next. My recipe has an option to add probiotics, but I really don't feel I have any bacteria issues, and I sure don't want to create any bacteria issues potentially by adding probiotics under my arms. I'm not really sure how that works. So I'm going to exclude the probiotics, but if you've used probiotics before and you know it doesn't cause any problems for under your arms and you're not creating new bacteria growth that wasn't meant to happen, you definitely need to let this cool. Otherwise you're going to kill your probiotics. And also I would say it's probably better for, you know, you're going to add some vitamin E and you know, stuff like that. You probably want to let the mixture cool down a little bit too. Then I would also definitely, you know, this is an old stainless steel pot. You can see I had a little bit of splatter overflow, so I'm going to have to clean that out, and I clean that out pretty quickly so you don't get residue buildup. This feels like it's fully melted. I don't feel any chunks in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the heat. And we're going to let that cool. So now I'm going to measure out some dry ingredients. So we added one of our first powder ingredients. Try to get that incorporated while it is nice and warm. Get all the clumps out. And I'm going to add, my recipe has a baking soda component, and I am actually going to back it off ever so slightly off the full baking soda. Ever since I burned myself that one time by going over, I definitely don't want to do that to myself again. There we go. What we will do, add a little extra of the other powder ingredient, which is a, I'll just say what it is. I think it works very well, and I don't think it's going to cause any irritation. It's the arrowroot powder. A lot of recipes will say if you're going to have very sensitive skin, that in lieu of the baking soda, you can have arrowroot powder. I'm going to go ahead and put that back on a little bit. I want to make sure I fully incorporate that baking soda. I don't want to have any chunks of baking soda where it's just pure baking soda on your arm. That would be bad. So when you add the baking soda, you make sure you fully incorporate it. So it's spread throughout the mixture and it won't burn you. So the hypoallergenic recipes will say you can go ahead and exclude the baking soda and add 100% arrowroot. And I don't know if I'm an especially stinky dude, but I need some of that baking soda. So be careful too about experimenting and you make a new batch, it doesn't have any baking soda, and you go somewhere you're going to be around people that you need to impress and influence. You don't want to smell. Alright, it's kind of messy, you know, look at that. We'll just get a little water going here. Definitely going to want to have some paper towels on hand because you're using oils, you're melting natural oils, and you know, the other fact is too that you are melting natural oils, and this is very hot. You do not want to get this on you. Might be a good idea. I like to have a good tactile feel, but having some gloves on would be a great idea. Some vinyl gloves, just something cheap, so that if you get any oil on your hand, hot oil, you can just rip that glove off and it's not going to be hot oil all over your hand. I've done this a bunch of times, but if this is your first time doing this, I would definitely recommend you wear gloves. And that way, if you spill something on your hand, you can rip that glove off and get your hand under some cold water. So I just keep mixing that. I want to make sure my dry ingredients are thoroughly mixed. You don't have any clumps. You especially don't want clumps of that baking soda. Get a chunk of pure baking soda under your arm all day on a hot day. You are not going to be happy. Let this cool down a little bit more. My particular recipe calls for a little bit of vitamin E, which I did not omit. I didn't see anything wrong with adding a little bit of vitamin E under my arms. But I was definitely a little bit worried about adding bacteria with the probiotics. So in the comments, if you guys want to let me know your experience with probiotics, and if you're a go on that, or no, you're like, oh man, I created all kinds of problems, I had to go see a doctor because I put probiotics under my arm. So you need to be careful with that, people. Just because it says it's natural, arsenic's natural, cyanide's natural. So, be careful what you're doing. I'm using oils. Most of these you could just about eat them, so I'm okay. I'm using stuff that I know is going to be okay. But if you're getting a little bit crazy and starting to experiment with some really strange oils from strange countries that your skin has never had to tolerate before, you might want to, you make your batch of deodorant and you test it on a part of your skin, like the inside of your arm, for a week or something before you start doing that under your armpits and creating a big problem for yourself. I keep going on and on about that, but man, that baking soda was rough. It took a while for it to come on, and it took a while for it to just go away when I went back and I made a batch that didn't have any baking soda at all. So, respect your recipe. Somebody spent a lot of time playing around and making a perfect thing that they felt that was worthy to be published on the internet. Put their name behind it. The last ingredient, which I need to go fish out. So I will also give the same warning with essential oils. I'm going to use a little bit of lavender oil here. Follow the recipe. If you have really sensitive skin, you might want to make your batch, even if you're using something that seems, like it's not going to cause a problem, like lavender oil, because this could cause a lot of burning on the skin if you have really sensitive skin. So follow your recipe about how many drops to add. If you want to have a little more odor, just don't go nuts with it, because the essential oil could also burn you. So it says 20 drops. I'm going to go a little bit more, maybe 25 drops. Alright. Well, apparently the best technique was to hold the bottle straight down, because those drops were sure not coming out. Alright. I think we're looking pretty good. We're going to stir in the oil. Last thing, you see it's already starting to really thicken up there. So you are going to want to, I'm almost going to, it's a magic dance between having it too solid and you don't want it to pour through the bottom of the container, but you don't want to get the ingredients too hot. But I also want to make sure it's hot enough that I fully incorporate those oils. Alright, it's going to be good enough. Give it some good mixing. The last step is going to be remove containers from the freezer just before you're ready to pour. I like to line them up on some aluminum foil. And you can see this is pretty easy, right? I mean, you're going to make a small mess. I already have a mess to clean up in the kitchen anyway. Didn't take that long. I think we're less than a half hour here almost. You're going to want to use some hot mitts That glass is going to be hot, hot, hot. Another thing I like is these are rubberized here on the inside. That's going to grab the glass very nicely. You don't want to have that glass slip out of your hand, so you might want to invest in a pair of rubberized hot mitts if you're going to do this a lot. So I think we're good. Looking good. Sure seems like it's incorporated. Alright, all you need to do is have it fully incorporated, everything mixed. Step back over here. Get our frozen containers out. So I've never had any problem with this. I mean, technically you're kind of making the plastic a little more brittle in the freezer there, and you might shorten the life of how many times you can use it, but honestly I don't think you should use your container more than maybe one time, because, you know, there's a little plug of oil on the bottom there, and if you use that containers 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, and that little plug of oil at the very bottom there is what, 3 years old, 2 years old? Depending on how many containers you have and how you rotate them. So the other thing I like to do is I like to get them all nice in a row so that I can pour, and I'm just going to go boom, 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 boom down the row. Be very careful here. Are we good? This is the big moment. All of our hard work. Ah! Make a mess. Make a mess. That's why you have the foil down. You know, it's almost better. I would say you just keep going. You're going to have a little mess, but you're not going to have a big mess. Yeah, that's the way to do it. I'd say you just keep going. You know what? And then I have a little bit left over. I almost needed an extra. You know what it is I'm using some of these clear containers that I sell, and those are 2.12 ounces, and the white ones are 2.65. And I usually do this with all white containers, but I wanted to show that you can use any kind of container. Oop, you don't want that. If you start to see little nitty gritties, you see little bits of stuff at the very, very bottom that didn't quite fully melt, stop. You don't want that in your deodorant. That is just about it. So the last thing you would do is let that cool. I'd say probably let it cool all the way. All those little bits will solidify, and then you just take a paper towel. I'll show that at the very end. Take the paper towel and wipe everything up. Yeah, we're right at about a little over a half hour. That's pretty good. Half hour on a Saturday to make some deodorant that'll last you about 3-4 months probably. It's not bad. Let's talk about ingredients here. I went ahead and splurged for organic ingredients for everything. And you can make your deodorant pretty expensive if you go with fancy organic ingredients that are pretty exotic, especially some of the exotic oils that are available. But you also, I would say you're still probably better off even going non-organic and using the natural oils. You know, you don't have to have organic coconut oil and an organic shea butter or organic mango butter. You know, shea is pretty expensive, especially if you go organic. So if you're starting off and you're on a budget and you just like the idea, hey, I want to try to make some of my own deodorant, I would say go ahead and go non-organic, and if you really, really like it, then you can start doing some research. I found some places that, I'm not going to, I've been pretty happy with this company, but I'm not going to go ahead and pitch them because I haven't used them enough to say for sure that I like all their products. But I've been happy so far. But you start buying ingredients in this size right here, it becomes pretty reasonable, especially if you go in with some friends. And if you can sell a few friends on making your own deodorant, you can buy some of those supplies in bulk, and then you can go organic for the same price that you bought a small size of something regular. And especially with the some of the warehouse stores, they have organic coconut oil so cheap. And so it's things like the shea butter and the coconut butter, or the cocoa butter. Those are the ones that are kind of harder to find at a store at a reasonable price. And I want to show you how to wipe up a container a little bit. You know, you can see right here, I made a mistake and I had a spill. So I'm going to separate. Ooh, you got a mess. Look at that. Disgusting. There you go. Paper towel, make it all go away. Alright. So I had a clean looking container here, huh? Damn. Oh, beautiful. One last little wipey wipe. Bam. We made that together, all of us, in the hole. Alright. And you know what's cool? You see what we did by freezing the container? I want to show that on a clear one especially. Look at that. Freezing the container. So what it did is that hot deodorant came down, hit the very, very cold container, and it made a little plug all the way around it. And then at the very bottom there's a little pole going through there that drives the elevator up and down. And that's a hole. And when I first did this, I did it with room temperature containers, and what I had was a bunch of bleed out at the bottom all over the place. Oop, look, I'm a genius. Look at that. That was pretty funny. Look at that. Hot oil. That's okay. I'll live. That cooled down enough. That wasn't a nightmare. Alright. That was smart of me. We'll leave that in the video just to show rookie mistakes. Alright. We're going to let these dry all the way. I think the way to do it is you let it go all the way dry to where you have it back to deodorant, and these will flake right off. But you get the idea. That was real easy. I think came out. Call it done. Alright, thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate you. Hopefully you tuned in. I sure appreciate it. Appreciate your support. Please click the links. Please go visit my store, Dan's Daughters Containers, on eBay or Amazon. And if you like what you see, please buy some containers for me. Thank you.